takes a couple of minutes.
Ah, okay, okay, there you go.
There we go.
Okay, it's fine.
Okay. We're ready. We're live. Hopefully. Fingers crossed. Can you verify that we're live?
I'll verify in a moment.
Because the chat's disappeared, everything's vanished. Isn't that great? Well, if we are live, then welcome to a slightly hair-raising Friday afternoon live stream. My chat's disappeared. There were all these beautiful comments that I was reading.
Are we streaming on another
Just
stream? I don't
streaming
know.
on another something. Maybe we're not live. We're not there? No? Okay, cool. Ah!
Wait.
Wait for it to catch up. Well, I shall just do.
I think we are live. Okay.
Oh, we are live.
My BP just skyrocketed.
Can someone see us? Can anyone see us?
I don't know why the chat.
My chat's vanished. But I want to see the chat. I want to see. Well, I can see the contributions to the coffee fund. Thank you, Double Click and Peter Smith. But I have no chat, so I can't see anything. You passed my iPad. Sorry, sweetie. I didn't mean to throw your phone out of your hand. Because then I can. We're going to do something a bit different today. Improv. You know my mime show that I did the other day? That worked, didn't it? That was on the focusing screen video. I'm going to get my chat on here. It says we're live, so let's just go with that. Oh, look! I can see the chat.
Okay.
All right. Okay. This is a very unconventional way to run today's live stream, but I need another table. Just for the chat. Right. Let's start again, shall we? Hello. This is Becky. I'm joined by Gray.
Hello, everybody.
I'm blind. I can't see the chat here,
No.
so I'm going to try and see it from here, but actually can't see it from here either. That's very helpful. Marvellous. I can't get the comments up even on here, so I don't know what's happened to them. Please start chatting amongst yourselves. Today, we have a very exciting stream for you. We're going to be talking about Nikon in the movies, in the movie industry. We're going to talk about some people that have used Nikons in movies and otherwise, and also a little bit of Gray's history.
Yes, just for a change.
I thought it would be quite interesting because so many people say, "Oh, I love Grey stories." So we're going to have a few of those as well.
Okay,
hopefully.
fair enough.
If any occur to you throughout the stream.
Throughout this madness.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Thank you to Jeremy. The chat's back. You can see it?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Maybe it will appear for me. Maybe it won't. Who knows? I'm not ignoring you if you're posting a comment. I just can't see it. But thank you to Jeremy for your contribution to the Coffee Fund. You know what I can see? Is I can see the Coffee Fund contributions and the Super Chat. So if you have a question, I didn't rig it this way, I swear. But if you see if you want to contribute to the Coffee Fund and make a comment, then I will be able to see that, because that is the only thing that seems to be working. Thank you to Randall and also Adrian as well for your contributions to the Coffee Fund.
Yes, thank you, everyone.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Gray was
I think we'll need it today.
Yes, I think we will. Iced coffees all around. It's quite hot in London. Gray was suggesting that maybe we make it a champagne fund. But have to be making a little bit more each week for that. Maybe not conducive to the live stream either.
Probably not, no.
Be quite a jolly live stream.
Yeah.
Today's prize for our giveaway is a beautiful leather Nikon 100th anniversary strap. There we go. You can see that. So if you would like to win, luckily our producer can see the comments, so she will be able to put you in the prize draw. You just need to put "I would like to win" and she'll add your names, so no problems there. I just won't be able to see if you're entering. It's a bit of a shame.
There's a few barriers this week, isn't there?
Oh my goodness, I know. And on top of that, because we had to restart everything in the process, I've just got to get my pictures up, because we have some pictures for you as well.
Yes.
There's going to be a visual stream after all my preparation this morning, and I was foiled by technology. Anyway, okay. So let me just get the old
by Antonioni called Blow Up. And it's kind of a murder mystery.
Right. I actually was going to rent it from Amazon Prime because it was on Amazon Prime, but I didn't get a chance to watch it before our stream. I wanted to.
Yeah. Yeah, so he's a very, very successful, slightly cynical photographer, apparently loosely based on David Bailey.
Oh, right. Okay.
And he has this fabulous studio in London, and he goes off on a recce on his own just to take photographs.
Right.
Goes to Merrion Park, and
Yeah.
with his Nikon F, takes pictures of this couple in the distance who are
Right.
in an embrace. The woman runs after him, demanding the roll of film.
Oh.
He says, "Come to my studio," and she's very funny. Vanessa Redgrave it was.
Right, yes.
And but he doesn't give her the roll of film. He gives her a dummy roll of film. He
bit
then
cheeky.
wonders why she's so keen on this,
Yeah.
and blows up, hence the title of the film,
Right.
a larger and larger pictures. And he spots that there's somebody in the bushes aiming a gun at the courting couple.
Oh.
And so he goes back
Yeah.
and finds a body,
Oh my goodness.
and then the body disappears.
All right. Don't spoil the rest for me because I want to
Oh,
get to it.
no, I won't. There's lots.
There's lots happens in the movie.
So I was rather transfixed by
Yeah.
this, because he was also using Hasselblad, which was the other, neither of which I could afford as a student. And he also visits a club called the Ricky Tick, which was a famous club in London, and playing live on stage.
I think we've got
The
a picture of
Yardbirds.
them. Yeah. Why? There we go. We've got sound during our pictures as well. So when he goes to this club, you were
Yes.
saying the Yardbirds,
The Yardbirds are playing live.
and they had a lineup of famous names,
Well, two of their guitarists.
right?
So we've got Jeff Beck and Jimmy Page.
Yeah.
And obviously Jimmy Page went on to form Led Zeppelin, and Jeff Beck has had this monumental career. I mean, he's up there with sort of Jimi Hendrix and,
Yeah.
well, all of them, you know.
Yeah.
And Eric Clapton formerly had been in the Yardbirds but had left. So that little group was responsible for three of the greatest guitarists of that period. And so it sort of seemed to, well, I could do photography.
Yeah.
I could photograph bands in clubs,
Yeah.
thus, thus sort of fulfilling my dreams, really.
Increase it. So I can't see what I'm doing, so that's not very helpful. Let me just see. There we go. Hopefully I sound a little bit louder now.
Are you there?
Well, there's always a 30-second delay, so who knows? I'll just be more enthusiastic and compensate for it.
So that was the film, basically.
Wow. And so I actually realised that I have this book right here.
Yes.
That it's kind of like a coffee table book, isn't it, that
Yeah.
one? And I have a picture, I think, of the man with his Nikon. Let's see. That's David Hemming holding what looks like a Nikon F
It is a Nikon F, yes.
in there. And then I also think there was the Yardbirds, but there's a scene that's just a screen grab, I think, from the movie
It is,
itself.
yeah.
Of them playing on stage. And did you tell me, am I thinking, they threw a guitar into the audience?
Well, I think what they were trying to do, I don't think it's anything that Jeff Beck would ever do now, but one of the scenes was he smashed a guitar into an amplifier,
Yeah.
a la Pete Townsend of The Who, and then
Right.
chucked it into the audience, and the audience go berserk.
And it kind of immortalizes that motion when you do something like that in a
Yeah.
movie, don't you? This is actually a great double page spread there of him with his Nikon F, and that looks like is it a 135 3.5 on his camera.
It's amazing that you know these things at your age.
I was looking at it. That's what it looks like anyway. I could be completely wrong.
Yeah.
Yes, and then he's there. What's that? Is that a
Hasselblad?
Hasselblad? Yeah. So there's some pictures of him in there. I'm actually going to talk a little bit about some books because a little bit later, not that I have here, but just that I thought would be interesting in passing as well. And so this was kind of the movie that made you go, okay, I can take pictures of bands and I can be a photographer. And
That's right, yeah.
That's where it all started.
And how could I get a Nikon?
Yeah, exactly. That's the important question that everybody
I just didn't realise
asks
I'd end up with quite so many, Becky.
Exactly. It was like opening a can of worms. You started with one.
Well, it started with one, yeah.
It's a slippery slope.
It is a slippery slope. This is a warning to anybody coming into Grays at Westminster.
Yeah, you start with one Nikon.
There should be a public health warning.
There should be. So that was Blow Up, and then interestingly, I mean, we've heard the story. In fact, we've spoken of the story of your mate Stan, as I like to call him, of Stanley, the legend,
Mr. Kubrick,
Mr. Kubrick to me, who obviously bought equipment here.
He did. Yeah.
And I think you told me, and I think I'm just going to find it because I've got a picture of him up here, which I'm going to share. So there we have him at the Ari.
Yes, well, that's on the set of Eyes Wide Shut with Mr. Cruise.
Right. Yeah. And then he did very, very famous 2001 A Space Odyssey, which you can see there.
Written by Arthur C. Clarke. Who I was in touch with.
Were you?
Yeah.
What were you in touch with him for?
When I was writing stuff in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
And I wrote to him one day about a particular thing, and he wrote me a very nice letter back, and he invited me to Sri Lanka.
Of all places. Wow. Was he living there? Or?
Yeah, he was. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, he whiled away his time, and of course, his involvement with science fiction goes back a long way because he was the technical advisor on the Eagle comic, which featured Dan Dare, Pilot of the Future.
Oh yeah.
And so he was a fascinating man.
That's very cool. And 2001 Space Odyssey featured this rather snazzy looking when it shows up.
Yes. Yeah, this is a Nikon.
This is a Nikon. It's not a Nikon that I've ever seen before.
No.
I mean, quite an interesting looking Nikon. So what's the story behind this one? Because it says Nikon on it. I would have thought they just stuck a little label on there.
Yeah, it was a prop made for 2001, A Space Odyssey. And it's the bit where the astronauts are on the moon looking for the giant monolith. If you've seen the film, you'll know what I mean. And one of the astronauts takes a picture, and it was with that camera.
Fake, not real camera.
Not real camera, but it's the Nikon that never was.
Right, exactly.
But is.
Well, when I look at it, I think to myself, I mean, it looks kind of like do you think in those days pistol grips were all the rage? So maybe that was
if
why.
you look at a Pentax spot meter.
Oh yeah,
which had a handle. Spot meter 5s.
Right.
Maybe it was a riff on that.
That's very cute that it's got Nikon on it.
Yes.
And actually, quite an interesting story here that I'm going to show for the audience. So this is like an alternative poster, but any of you who've seen 2001: A Space Odyssey or know any kind of pop culture references to it, the baddie, if you like, is Hal.
Hal, yes, Hal 9000.
And Hal is actually an 8mm lens.
The face of Hal is an 8mm f8.
Here's one we made earlier.
Nickel, pre-AI.
In that box.
And what Mr. Kubrick did, if I can take this end off, there we are. Now, let's see if this works.
Yeah.
Got it set to the red filter there.
Yeah, so just to show you, so that is the eye of Hal, if you like, and that's what the lens looks like, and it has those lovely built-in filters in it. So when you actually shine the torch through it, let's see if we can get it at the angle. Can you see that little red dot there? That is Hal, basically. That's the light shining through.
What are you doing, Dave? What are you doing, Becky?
So if you ever want to recreate this, you just need an 8mm f8.
Yeah, well, that's ours. And Peter Jackson, the film director, Lord of the Rings and so forth, he bought the original.
Amazing. I wonder what he's...
in his museum.
Yeah. Oh, yes, of course, because he's got that whole sort of memorabilia museum.
Yeah. He's got all sorts.
I'd like something like that when I retire one day, which we never. Museum of movie and music memorabilia and art and things. And my collection of Nikons. Anyways, there you go. So that was used. I suppose you can kind of tell Mr. Kubrick had this real kind of, he loved Nikon, obviously, because he used it and respected the brand very much and slipped those into the movie-making process.
Yes, I think he used what was at hand that made sense to him.
Yeah.
And it's the simplest thing in the world, but that's why it's so clever.
Yeah.
And the simple things sometimes are.
Yeah, exactly. And become kind of icons.
Yeah.
I would like to say thank you to Terry and Randall again for your contributions to the Coffee Fund. Randall says he's going to send Jer to fix my laptop or just do a refresh for the chat comments. My fear is that if I do a refresh, I don't know what will happen because last week we had a blackout this week. So she's going to have to put up with me not being able to see the comments. If you see any of note, you can just call them to me, yeah? That's probably the easiest way to do it. So then... I had another great picture of David Hemmings that I have to share. Let me just do that quickly. So this is him in the bushes.
That's right. He's now watching the couple.
Right.
Up on the hill.
Yes,
as
okay.
it were.
I have to watch this film because you've convinced me. Also, I quite like the murder mystery vibe.
And it's very surreal, the film.
Is it?
Very surreal, yeah.
Okay, so, and it was, when was it filmed?
Where was it filmed?
When?
Well, it came out in 66.
66, okay, yeah. So I quite like this.
I think it won the Palme d'Or at Cannes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Well, it's withstood the test of time, I guess, because a lot of people were mentioning it. I remember when I saw the earlier comments, there were a few people saying, hope you mentioned Blow Up.
Yes. In fact, one of our friends, Gemma Wood, who's married to John Wood, who's an old chum of ours, she gave me a couple of years ago an original, I think it's a 12-sheet original poster. It is huge.
Colossal.
Yeah.
Where's that? It's not on the wall.
At my home.
Oh, okay. Can I see a pinned comment? Let me check, actually. No. Okay. Sorry. You have to actually read them to me. That's fine. It's like having
read it out in a lovely Greek
on the
voice.
Producer desk. I can see that Adam and David have also contributed to the Coffee Fund. Thank you so much. And I wish I could read your comments while you were going along. But anyway, we will we'll keep going. And Brian, who's also sent us a little super chat sticker, which says, keep going. Just
oh, well.
Keep going.
Very
keep
kind.
going.
Photo Enthusiastic says, open the pod bay doors. Please, Hal.
Yes, exactly. We have so much fun with that. So then next up was another one that a lot of you actually mentioned, I noticed, before my comments disappeared, which was the Bridges of Madison County.
Yes.
Which we actually did a Nikon owner front cover on. This was Nikon owner issue number 3, and this one, for earlier viewers of our YouTube channel, will know that the camera in front of my desk when I was doing our how-to videos would favour Clint Eastwood's face over mine. So if you've ever wondered why those earlier videos are slightly out of focus, it's because Clint got all the attention, and rightly so. But so in this film, he uses, it's also a Nikon F, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's and also he has a black SP rangefinder camera. Yep. Do you want to know a little bit about background?
Yes, of course, always.
Okay. Well, I first got to hear about it from a friend of mine who had read the book and said, "You really should read this book." And I read it in one sitting. And it's about a National Geographic photographer.
Right, yes, I remember that much. So it's
Who-
AC. The AC, it's got a mind of its own. The technology's on the fritz today.
Who, while travelling in Madison County, stops to photograph some of the covered wooden bridges.
Right.
'Cause
Okay, yeah.
That's what they are, the bridges of Madison County. And he meets this woman,
Which is Meryl Streep, is it?
played by Meryl.
Yeah.
Well, and I thought, well, this would be great. I could do a feature on this in the Gazette.
Yeah.
And I was having all sorts of trouble with the film company giving me any information.
Right.
They weren't keen
They were
for
being
some
a bit-
reason. They
which
were
is-
being very stoppy.
Which is odd because it's kind of like free
Yeah,
promotion
free
for
promotion.
them. Yeah.
Yeah. And one day, Mr. Kubrick's assistant, Tony Fruin, was ringing me about something that Mr. Kubrick wanted. And we were chatting away, and he said, "Oh, you don't sound your normal bubbly self." And I said, "I'm so sorry." I said, "I've just had a frustrating morning." And I explained it, and he said, "Oh," he said, "I know about that film." He said, "Because Stanley was talking to Clint the other night."
As
one
you
does.
do.
As one does.
Just talking to
And,
Clint the other night.
And he said, "Well, I'll mention it." And I said, "Oh, please don't do that. I don't want to be a burden. Let's just look after you." And,
Yeah.
And anyway, so he said, "Oh, okay." And we finished the call. 10 minutes later, the head of Warner Brothers Europe rang me, which is a little like the Queen ringing me to say, "I understand you had a problem buying one of my postage stamps."
Yes.
And his name was Julian Senior. And I said, "I'm so sorry that you've been bothered." He said, "No, I'm told to look after you."
Wow.
And within an hour, there was a delivery of the original poster.
Yeah.
There was loads of photographs. There was all sorts of background material. And the next day, there was an invitation to go to the premiere. And then Clint Eastwood came out and spoke to us.
Oh, how wonderful. So is that because we've got going up to Gray's office, there's a massive poster.
That's the one.
That's the one
Yeah.
from that. Amazing.
Yeah.
And I noticed you've also got a coffee table book
I have,
of that one. It's quite nice to have these big books, actually. You can really see what's going on in
Yeah.
them. So this has got all these kind of iconic scenes. I should have tabbed the pages, but actually I picked up. There we go. There he is. It's actually a lovely picture, that full colour one.
Yeah. And Ken Reagan, who was the photographer, the set photographer on this film,
Yeah.
he gave us lots of behind-the-scenes shots of
Clint Eastwood using
Clint
it.
Eastwood. And I said, "What was it like working with him?" And he's, because he's very down-to-earth, Clint
Yeah.
Eastwood, and very unassuming. And he said, "I turned up in Madison County, and I thought I'd buy some food." And he said, there was a little mom-and-pop corner store. He said, and I got my shopping basket. I was walking down the aisle, and he said, and coming towards me with a little shopping trolley is Clint Eastwood on his own doing his evening shopping.
Love that.
So he said, I introduced myself, and
Yeah.
he said, "Oh, do you fancy coming over for breakfast? I'll cook." And he said Clint Eastwood was using Nikon FMs at the time.
Wow.
And he said, "Well, how do you use a Nikon F? How would this photographer, who was called Robert Kincaid,
Yeah.
the party play, use it?" He said, "Think of it as an old Ford pickup truck.
So-
That's the sort of,
How you
can go
get
into
hold of
battle
it.
with it."
Yes, exactly. You found a comment.
Michael George says, he got a great story for us about Kubrick from 1967 later.
Oh,
good. We'll look forward to
Nice.
it.
We'll keep
Who's
an eye
this?
on-
Michael George.
Michael George. Okay.
And Andy Hader says, mentioned the movie We Were Soldiers. Nikon F prominently featured in the movie.
We Were Soldiers.
We Were
I haven't
Soldiers.
seen that one.
I think it's Mel Gibson, isn't it?
Ah.
I think, yeah.
I don't have screenshots of that one, but I do have a few others. of, well, actually, after the Bridges of Madison County, I thought it would be quite nice to show some of the pictures that we've supplied equipment for. Obviously, we've got the obvious Kubrick movies, but sort of more recently, because a lot of people, I think, when I was looking at the sort of movieography, there's a filmography, movieography. What is this? Filmography of.
She needs coffee.
I do, I really do. Of productions shot with Nikon and things like that, or featuring Nikon. A huge number of the pictures that I managed to kind of put together are all of the older film cameras. So many Nikon Fs, so many sort of what I'd consider A-list celebrities using Nikon Fs or F2s or even rangefinders.
Yes. Well, the F would feature prominently because it took the world by storm, and everybody had one.
Yeah.
That was anybody, really.
It was iconic. That's really in the truest sense of the word. But there are more recent films that have been shot using either Nikon cameras or Nikon lenses. Some of them we've even supplied. So some of them you will know if I share. So we have Chicken Run, for example, which the poster is slightly out of the frame, so you can't see that, but it's up behind us here. And then we also have The Corpse Bride. Tim Burton.
That's right, Tim Burton.
Yeah, which we supplied the lenses for. So shot with Nikon glass as well. Then slightly more recently, we had Wes Anderson's Isle of Dogs.
Yes, that's the second thing we've done with Wes Anderson. We did The Fantastic Mr. Fox as well.
Yes, that's right. That's slightly later on in this sequence. Fantastic Mr. Fox, I have another fun fact about that as well. We also had Kubo and the Two Strings, which is a beautiful movie. That was Leica Productions that did that one, wasn't it? Yeah.
They're on the west coast of America.
And then The Pirates in an Adventure with Scientists, which is an Aardman production. And a lot of you will probably know because we've spoken about it before, but we've supplied a lot of lenses for Wallace and Gromit and some of the other Aardman.
Yeah. In fact, Gillian Greenwood and I got invited to Aardman Studios.
Oh, yeah, you have to be close to the mic.
Yeah,
it's very sensitive, this mic. It likes you to be intimate.
Okay. I'll bear this in mind.
Thank you. So you went to the Aardman.
Gillian Greenwood and myself went to Aardman in Bristol.
Right, that's where it is.
A number of years ago. And we were sitting in the canteen having a coffee with their head of technical. I looked in the cabinet just sitting opposite. It was just full of Oscars. It was extraordinary.
With the dinner ladies walking past.
That's right. Yeah. Well, it was a bit like that, really. And it's an extraordinary place.
Wow.
An extraordinary place.
I really would love to go because I've seen pictures from behind the scenes and Leica actually, not Aardman, but Leica have a very interesting Instagram page.
Do they?
And account where they show in stop motion, they show all the different movements that they use and all the costume design and the big sets. And as far as I understand, what tends to happen is they have, multiple different they're massive tabletop sets for these productions.
Yeah, it's true.
And then they'll buy multiple copies of the same lens so that they get the same kind of field of view and look with each camera. And
sometimes even the same serial number runs.
Yeah, just to be...
Well, because
absolutely
just in case there was any changes, which occasionally happens, which nobody says anything about. But
I suppose if you get an early lens and then a later lens, the coatings might have advanced a little bit.
Exactly.
Then you get a different colour cast or something like that. So I don't remember actually exactly the highest number of 55mm f2.8s that they bought at one time, but it was a lot. It was in one batch. There were more than 10 in that order. Yeah. It was sort of like something astronomical. You have a
nice quote from Andy's. He says, in We Were Soldiers, there is a scene where the press arrives in a helicopter with every camera of the period. And then David Mascoro says that in We Were Soldiers is based in a true story in photographer Joe Galloway.
Oh.
My brother was in that battle.
Wow.
Well,
gosh.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Another comment from Ragnar who says, recalling a quote from a photo book, circa 1970s, anyone even pretending to be a photographer in a movie is likely sporting a Nikon F or Graflex.
Oh, I like that.
Such taste.
Yes, exactly. They knew what the quality stuff was.
Exactly.
So that was stop motion animation. Now, interestingly enough, Fantastic Mr. Fox, they also use, I've got a poster here for Fantastic Mr. Fox, which was another Wes Anderson film. But they also, did you know, used a D3 for their stills.
I did not know that.
Yeah,
No.
so that was also quite Nikon-centric. And then other things that we had, for example, at one point or another, the D800 was weirdly being used a lot for movies. So, for example, Dexter, I think series 1 and 2 were filmed partially on a D800.
No, I did know that, yeah.
Yeah. There was a short film called Broken Night, and Steven Spielberg's cinematographer, and I can't remember his name now, it's gone off the top of my head, actually shot with a D800 for this one. And then there was also a slightly odd series, so I've got to scroll through here, called Wilfred, which starred Elijah Wood and won several awards, but that was also filmed with a D800, interestingly enough. So there are Nikon cameras that have been used. In fact, there was at one point, I think it was London Live was being shot with, was it D5s? I can't quite remember. D5s. And we know, obviously, Mark Roberts, if you've seen our little preview or if you've read anything about Nikon, they own a robotics company called Mark Roberts, and they use Nikon cameras exclusively for the filming there on these big robots.
Mark Roberts motion capture.
Yes, exactly.
It's worth going on their website. They've got some extraordinary stuff there.
Very cool. And they have now that sort of, it's almost like a giant lorry with a studio inside, which is kitted out with Nikon cameras. When I went during that video that we did on YouTube, which was, June last year, I think, was about a year ago, they were just phasing out the D5s and replacing them with D6s, and the Z6s were being replaced out with Z6 IIs, I think. It must have been a bit later because it was after the Z6 II had been announced. But anyway, so they were sort of shifting all their gear, so they were using the latest and greatest, but all that stuff gets used for so many movies. If you want to have a look at their filmography, it's on there as well, and worth having a look at. Yes. Oh, yes. Please do give us a thumbs up. I'm sorry, I can't even see what the likes are at. What are we at?
39 likes.
Only 39 likes. Is it because I can't see your comments?
Yes. Some likes would be very helpful.
Some likes would be lovely. We very much appreciate
We would know
them.
you're there.
Yes, exactly. Also, I'd like to say thank you to Michael for the contribution to the Coffee Fund, and to Gary as well, also for your contribution to the Coffee Fund. So thank you very much for those. So next up, I wanted to just talk about a few kind of, I'd say, movie icons with their Nikons.
Yep.
In some cases, they were using them. In some cases, they weren't. Obviously, some of these are sort of screenshots, so they're quite small. But hopefully, you've got us on full screen, so you can see them possibly better than I can. This is obviously Dennis Hopper.
Yes.
Now, I think this get-up is from... what on earth is that movie called? Apocalypse Now. I was like, Armageddon. No, it's not what it's called. I know, different type.
No, aren't you thinking of Farmageddon with Shaun the Sheep?
That's right. It's like begins with an A. Apocalypse Now, that's right. Now, it's very interesting. He actually used Nikons throughout his life, I found out.
Well, he was an artist of some note.
Yeah, exactly. And
good friend of Viggo Mortensen's. By the way.
Really?
He was also actor and artist and photographer and poet. And
I found his book, Dennis Hopper's book, sells for $2,500 now, and it's this incredible book of all his images from the sort of around the 60s, I think 1961 to 67. Period that he shot in. But yeah, $2,500. So great if you can snap one of those up.
Yeah.
So that's
came to fame in Easy Rider.
Oh really?
Yeah, he was the other with Peter Fonda.
Oh, I didn't realize that was him. So that's him. And then this one I quite like. This is Johnny Depp.
Yes.
I do like Johnny Depp. Who doesn't? But he's also one of those people that you don't really necessarily know as a photographer. You know him as an actor. But he has shot this is an f4S, obviously, with an 80 to 200 AFD on there, not the push-pull version, but the two-touch version. But he's also shot with a range of other cameras, Hasselblads and things like that. I just felt quite lucky to find this shot with him holding a Nikon. But he does also photograph in his, I suppose, spare time, in amongst playing in bands. I think he plays, does he play guitar or double bass? I can't remember.
He plays guitar. He's been playing with Alice Cooper.
Yes. Yeah, that's right.
The Hollywood Vampires, they're called.
That's right. Man of many talents.
Yeah.
Then I thought this was quite a nice one. This is Frank Sinatra.
Yeah.
And Celeste.
High Society.
In High Society. Did you say that he won any award? No, this is... I haven't seen this film. It's a musical, I'm guessing, if it's got Frank Sinatra in it.
Yes. Yes.
Wild guess from Becky there.
Was it Bing Crosby? Was
been.
the other person in it?
Yes, yeah, I think you're right. And Frank Sinatra, we also did a front cover in Nikon.
Oh, yes.
Didn't we? I think I've got not that image, but a reversal of it, or the same night, which is this one. Very small. This is at Madison Square Gardens. This was the fight in 1971. Yeah. I can't remember who was fighting.
Yeah, and the photograph, he was shot by Ken Reagan, who did the Bridges Madison County shots.
Right, there we go. So, and in fact, I looked at another angle of that shot, and actually, it looks like it's got someone else's name on the front of the camera.
Yeah, Dymo tape.
Yeah, exactly. So he must have borrowed somene's camera for that.
Because he would have been right down the front where all the press guys are, you're saying. You don't say no to Sinatra, do you?
No, he says, can I borrow your camera? No. It's mine. So he's been in pictures. In fact, I think that picture with Celeste Holm there is... What is that? Is that an S? I'm going to just show it up on the screen.
Let me have a look.
I think, is it an S3?
S3,
yeah. So, it's not super high resolution, but
no. It's I think it's an S3 because there's no self timer.
Yes, there you go. I didn't actually think of that. I just kind of looked at the look of it. Took a stab in the dark. Another one who I find very, very interesting, which I'm going to show up here, is Gina Lollobrigida. Try and say that 10 times
Gina
fast.
Lollobrigida, yes.
She wasn't just an actress. She was also a photojournalist.
She was very keen, and a very able photographer too.
Yeah, and I think from what I read, she released a number of books. She wrote one or released a photo book that I think was called Mia Italia, if I'm not mistaken, which is obviously about home for her.
Indeed.
So if you can, I mean, sometimes I think that, actors' fame almost gets in the way of people seeing what else they can do and what else they can create and produce. So it'd be quite nice to get hold of some of these photo books that they've made. Maybe not Dennis Hopper's $2,500 one, but...
Well, I think...
You can find it a bit less
think
than that.
The trouble is that once they see you in one particular role, particularly if it's a significant role, sometimes it's difficult for that person to move on and become a character actor in other things. And often the way the industry looks at them, well, no, you always play a butler or you always play the villain.
That's right.
And it takes someone that's a bit risky, maybe like a Tarantino, that would grab you and put you into a film, playing against type in a way.
That's right. In fact...
like he did with Travolta in Pulp Fiction.
Yeah, it's true. Give him a different role. Well, he's very versatile as an actor anyway, more so I think now than ever before.
Sweet man too.
Yes. One thing that I thought was interesting, I meant to mention when I was looking at pictures of Johnny Depp, is he has played Minamata, the photographer, who basically documented the effects of mercury poisoning on the citizens of Minamata in Japan. And I just read a little bit. I don't know if the movie, because I didn't see it go to cinema, so I don't know if it was one of those sort of slightly
It's one to look out for.
Yeah, one to look out for. As far as I know, it was directed and produced in 2020. I don't know if it came out yet, but he's kind of sort of unrecognizable in that as a photographer, and he really the reviews were fantastic anyway. So, yes, you have a comment.
I have. It's by Roglapski, who says that Charles Bronson in Death Wish 3, which is also my dad's favorite actor, is carrying a Nikon. The jiggler steals it and Bronson shoot him.
Oh, wow. So there's some violence over Nikons.
Yeah.
I also, Synthetic Color says, I got into Nikon because I saw Nikon F5 and Donkey Bag, in the Lost World, Jurassic Park as a kid.
Oh,
how cool.
Yeah.
I love that. If you I'm going to have to read the comments when I get home because I can't see them all.
We'll get caught up.
But but I must say, if you were inspired by seeing Nikon in a movie or something like that, do put a comment where I'd love to.
Yeah, we'd like to see it.
We'd love to know. Next up, I wanted to feature Marilyn.
Of course.
Now, this was a very iconic photo shoot for a number of reasons, one of which was that Bert Stern was using a Nikon F, and at the time, it was in 1962, so it was early days of the Nikon F, and it wasn't as, I'd say, well known as everybody's camera, but I read this little interview where somebody had said, why did you use a Nikon F for this shoot with Marilyn Monroe? According to the interviewer at the time, she actually died only 6 weeks after that photo shoot. I don't know if that's I haven't double checked that, but that's what the interview said. But in the interview with Bert Stern, he said, well, the great thing about the Nikon F is that you can see through the lens, and then when you take the picture, it goes black for a minute, but then you can see what you're doing. It's like this was revolutionary at the time.
When you got an icon with an icon, haven't you?
Yeah, exactly. And I don't know. I mean, in terms of positioning, who knows whether Nikon had said, could you, Bert, could you do this shoot with that?
I don't think they were that sophisticated.
No.
I might be wrong, but it would be like her to pick up a camera and start playing around with him and him going.
Of course.
And it just would.
And it just working for that photo shoot. So that's one that we like very much. And there's loads of shots out there, even ones that you can buy on auction of her holding the Nikon F, which I think is quite nice to have. We've got a shot with Marilyn downstairs, do we? Holding the Nikon F? Yes, that's right, by the front door. You know, we've got so many little things in frame. Sometimes I have to look at the shop from a visitor's point of view and go, oh, yeah, we've got that picture. Next up, we have now. This is Montgomery Clift.
Yeah.
It's funny because this is from the set of Clift, isn't it? I don't know. Clift with a T. I think so.
I'm sure you're right.
This is from the set of The Young Lions. I don't know if he was a photographer per se, or whether it was just for that movie.
I know very little about him. I think he was a close friend of Elizabeth Taylor's.
Yeah, and I did some hunting around and digging to see if he'd done anything outside of this movie, but this was the only one that I could find with him with the camera. Again, the rangefinder. Wonder if I can see. That's difficult to tell with that one.
I see.
Because the picture is also shot on film and quite grainy.
Well, it's a chrome lens, so it could be an S2.
It could be an S2. Anyway, there we go. So that's him. And then we have now, this is obviously Cassius Clay, Muhammad Ali.
Yeah.
I found a couple of pictures of him shooting with Nikons. One thing, this is one of the other ones that I saw. This was actually a photo shoot of him holding his Nikon outfit. There's a few shots from that day. I don't know if he was actually taking pictures. He might well have been. But he was sort of messing about with it. But what I liked about this shot was here he's using a Nikon F, and I think we surmised that it might be an 80 to 200.
Possibly.
Potentially. But as you'll see, if you can see this, the words on screen, I wrote this down because I thought it was really cool. It says he was at a camera factory in Tokyo on Tuesday, 22nd of June, 1976, and he skipped training and instead went out for a sightseeing tour aboard a chartered bus that day. He thought, I'm going to go to the camera factory. I'm going to go for a tour. I'm not going to bother going training. That's what I'm going to do. I thought that was very cool. There's also some great shots of him shot by Malcolm X, funnily enough, and some of them were taken with a Nikon.
You were showing me those earlier. They're fascinating.
Yeah, Nikon F as well. It's interesting. If you have a look at Malcolm X's Nikon, then you'll see shots that he took at Muhammad Ali's birthday party, and he was shooting with the Nikon F and a couple of cameras that I couldn't quite identify. But very cool. Anyway, not really the movies, but anyway, I digress. Then we have Elvis.
Wow.
Yes, shooting with an SP.
Yes.
I mean, that is an SP, isn't it? Because it's got the very wide window.
That's the one you can immediately tell.
Yeah, exactly.
It's got that long frosted window.
Yeah. And I saw quite a few shots with Elvis with various different cameras. Yeah. So my thought is that, again, he was probably quite an avid photographer from what I could tell, but obviously got sort of pigeonholed. A bit of a Renaissance man, you know, photography, acting, and music, which is what he was mainly known for.
Yes, yeah.
And then this one, which I love.
Yes.
Which, sorry, I realised that nobody can see except me. There we go. Okay. I loved it. So this is obviously Sir Roger Moore.
Yes.
Playing James Bond.
Yes.
And he's got a Nikon F there, which apparently had a miniature rocket launcher inside. Probably not a real one. So
and he's with the on the right is the original MD of who set up Nikon in this country.
Right. Yes. What was his name?
Harry Collins.
Harry Collins.
And I think that's his area manager, Robin George, on the left. They're on the set of one of the Bond films.
The Man with the Golden Gun, that one was 1974, yeah.
There's actually another shot of Roger Moore outside a shop window. It was obviously product placement because the window is just full of Nikon. Big signs.
Well, if they were, from what I could see from that picture, they were quite sort of cozy, I'd say.
And I think Mike Allen, who's now retired, but he started Fixation, I think he adapted all the Nikons for the film.
Wow. One day, I mean, Mike is retired now, but one day I should get in touch with him.
Yeah, you should. He's got, I'm sure, 101 stories.
Probably, yeah.
And more.
Exactly. Yes, you have a comment from the audience.
W. Jensen says the picture of Elvis was from the film Live a Little, Love a Little.
Oh, thank you, Jan. Yeah, Live a Little, Love a Little. There you go. I saw some off-camera shots of Elvis, kind of less, but then there were lots of him posing, obviously for different brands where Nikon had gone, hold this camera, we're going to put this jacket on you, and then we'll sell like thousands of each one.
We'll pay you a fortune.
Yeah, and we'll pay you a fortune for it. So... You were telling me about the Nikon area manager. So, what was his name?
Well, the MD was Harry Collins.
Yes.
And Harry Collins used to work for a company called Rank Pullin. Yes,
which used to be the kind of what Nikon UK is now, I suppose.
Well, they did everything.
Yeah.
They had all the major brands.
So
Mamiya, Pentax, etc. All the lighting.
Yeah.
They had everything. Bronica.
Yeah.
And I remember Harry said to me how he started was he went to his bosses and said, I've got this idea. I think we should set up dealers to be authorized to sell Nikon, appointed dealers, and lift the brand. It's a fantastic brand. And they said, okay, you can have an office, you can have a secretary, and you can have one rep on the road. You've got a year to pull it off.
Wow.
And if you don't pull it off, you can't go back to your old job.
No pressure.
So I think Harry said that Keith Johnson of Keith Johnson Photographic, which was eventually taken over by Calumet, became the first authorized dealer.
Where you worked?
Where I worked for a time,
Wow.
And so when I had this idea of starting a Nikon-only shop, I met with Harry Collins, and Harry said to me, do you know, it reminds me of when I wanted to do what I wanted to do, he said. So, it was a nice moment.
Yeah.
And I heard from him he's long retired, but I heard from him not so long ago reflecting on those early days, when we first started, and he would tell me all these stories.
Exactly. You could probably see quite a few parallels between you both having kind of gone out on a limb for Nikon, and
because I don't think anybody thought it would work for him either.
Well,
it clearly did.
It clearly did.
He was a formidable MD.
Exactly, and also, I mean, if you think about it, in those days, so people would send, I suppose, if they wanted to buy Nikon equipment, how did it really work? You went into your local camera shop. If they didn't have it, they'd have to order it through Rank, who'd have to order it from Nikon, or was it not even as organised as that?
Yes, I think so, yes.
Yeah.
So I know the first dealer that I'd worked for down in Dorset, Hartle Photographic, we had a customer who wanted a Nikomat FTN, and we had to ring up a Nikon authorised dealer that we knew, and we did a deal with them.
Oh, wow. Gosh. Yeah, it's quite different these days with our dealership network, and also obviously everything being a little bit more centralised, I suppose a bit more organised as well.
Yeah.
But I know that in some of the, like in the old ads that you've got for Nikon cameras from the 60s and 70s, I think it was, maybe the 80s actually, and at the bottom it does say Rank Audio down on the bottom of the
Rank Audio Visual.
Audio Visual.
Great West Road.
Yes. Yeah. Interesting. Right. So that was.
Of course, Rank were making movies, of course, as well.
Were they?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
There was those early things where you saw a sort of a muscle-bound guy hitting a huge gong.
Oh, yes.
That was Rank.
Oh. Right. My final addition for this presentation for you today is Yul Brynner.
Yes.
Or Yul Brynner.
Yul Brynner.
Who was a Russian actor, and this
was he?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
And although obviously he's photographed here with the Nikon F, I think it is. Yes, it is a Nikon F. Pre-Apollo, you can tell from the self-timer on the front. In a film called Poppies Are Also Flowers from 1966. But he actually shot, I think his daughter collected 8,000 photographs of his.
Gosh.
And back in 2012, I found this great article. I think it was on DP Review. Where they were saying there's actually a gallery opening, and I thought, oh, how exciting. It was 2012 that this gallery opening was. That this internet has just an everlasting memory, unfortunately. But if they ever do anything of his again, I would love to go and see it, because there were amazing pictures. There were a few pictures up there of Audrey Hepburn, for example, in Venice and things like that. So he was a prolific photographer as well as an actor.
Absolutely. And of course famous for The King and I.
Yes, exactly. It was very
and also for playing the gunslinger in the original film Westworld.
Really?
He was one of the robots.
Wow. So there you go. I mean, there's many, many more examples. I had a huge sort of long list, but I think reading those off is not so exciting. But I did find quite a few articles and forums on places like DP Review, but also on Flickr, where people had mentioned, in Superman, Jimmy Olsen uses, I think it's a D2X or something like that with an 80-400. And then in Spider-Man, Peter Parker's using a D50 in the original Tobey Maguire movies and things like that. So there's probably quite a few influences. What did you find?
I have to mention Mr. Kenry's comment, who says, Under Fire with Nick Nolte and
yes.
Club guys. Come on, we got to mention them.
Under Fire, yes. That's very true. What was the other one?
Bang Bang Club guys.
Oh, the Bang Bang Club. Yes, I saw that. I saw that mentioned about 7 or 8 times, but I've not seen it. The Bang Bang Club gang. That's what it's called, isn't it? Yeah.
Actually, I should say a lot of the black and white photographs that we were given, I wanted to thank Mr. Robert Rotoloni,
yes,
who runs the Nikon Historical Society and has run the Nikon Journal since time immemorial, who very kindly agreed to send me these pictures from his archive. So, Robert, when you watch this, thank you very much indeed.
Yes, thank you. I'm just going to test something out here. I'm trying to spell for the images. I just wanted to see. No, I just thought if I post a comment, maybe it'll show me the comments, but it didn't. I just got excited for a second. No, it's just broken. It's very sad.
This is the brigadoon of it only appears every 100 years.
We don't have internet at the moment.
Well, I do.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Shop does.
But the shop doesn't have internet. That's, it's just going so well. But I do have Wheel of Names. So I can, yes? Okay, good. So I can log in there and we can do our prize draws. Slightly different live stream this week, I would say. Had a different feel to it because I couldn't see what everyone was saying. So I felt like I'm just talking to you and into the abyss.
So we've disappeared, have we?
No, we're still here because
we're
we're
here.
connected to my phone. Because, modern technology. Lots of people have entered the competition, that much I
Please
can see.
add Garni Ross because I don't have internet.
Yeah, let me see. How do you spell that?
G-A
Yeah.
Garni I-E.
I'm going to...
Garni N-I-E.
N-I-E. R-O-S-S. Okay, good. I just realised. What is that music?
Who did this?
Did you select that music? Very well done to Austin. That's A-T-R or Atrabe. I don't know. I've never known how to spell or say Atrabe, this username. But well done. Austin, you are the winner this week of the beautiful strap. Very well deserved.
Well done.
Austin, if you don't know, is the one that sent me my lovely coffee and cameras T-shirt.
Oh, yes. Yeah. That's
Although
very
that was a
kind.
complete fluke. Very, very well done for winning that. Thank you so much for joining me.
I actually thought it was next week. I was completely unprepared. So thank you for bearing with me, Becky.
No problem. And thank you to all of you for bearing with us as
Yes.
well while we made it through without being able to see comments or anything. But it's been wonderful.
Slings and arrows of outrageous live stream.
That's right. Next week, Constantine will be back and hopefully it will be fine. Who knows? I don't know. So anyway, we'll figure out what we're doing next week and maybe try and hook up a little bit earlier and see if it works.
Yeah.
Thank you to everyone who's contributed to the Coffee Fund as well. If you've given us a like, we massively appreciate it. Maybe you've even given us a subscribe. We are so close to hitting 8,000 subscribers now. We would love to do that before the end of the month. So if you haven't
Yes.
subscribed.
Help us get there, please.
Yeah,
Thank
exactly.
you.
It just means that other people who are interested in Nikon stuff will then more likely be shown our channel, which is great all round because we like to share the love and the knowledge. Right, we'll see you next week. Have a wonderful weekend for those of you in the UK. I think the weather's going to be nice and anywhere else in the world.
Absolutely. Have a wonderful weekend.
Yeah, we'll see you next
week. See you soon.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.